Back in the Cold War era, the Russians made a submarine called Sevastopol. It used extremely advanced AI tech in order to hide its traces from any digital platform. This AI can do thousands of quadrillions of equations in milliseconds. The Russians called this technology the Dead Reckoning. This AI kept Sevastopol hidden for a long time. It's activated and controlled by a key that is divided into two parts. Each part was given to a Russian officer as a precaution. It was a normal mission report day, until something unusual happened. The submarine's radar spotted a US submarine in their proximity. The Russian submarine crew thought that the US submarine didn't spot them, and they changed course to get away from her. But it appeared that the US submarine knew exactly where they were. Not only that the submarine fired a torpedo towards them, the captain ordered the crew members to start the countermeasures in order to prevent the torpedo from colliding with the submarine. He also ordered the crew to engage with the submarine using their torpedoes. But then a strange thing happened. The hostile submarine disappeared from the radar, and confusion, the captain ordered the crew to disable the torpedo they just shot. But the readings of the radar showed that the torpedo was turning around towards them. Despite their efforts to disable the torpedo, they failed. The AI entity tricked the submarine crew in order to shoot themselves. In Amsterdam, Ethan Hunt received a message from the imp. This message was a brief for his upcoming mission. The message was delivered to him by a rookie who forgot to ask him the security questions, but Ethan reminded him. The secret operation agent was tasked with finding the two parts of the keys. He received a message from the imp giving him the info he needed for his mission, and he was reminded of his deceased wife and why she was the reason he joined the imp in the first place. Back in the day, Hunt was presented with the choice of either spending 30 years in prison or joining the imp. The first part of the key was in the possession of a rogue inf agent named Elsa. She was tasked to bring the first part of the key, but after she acquired the key, she didn't deliver it to the imp and went rogue. The message also said that there is a price on her head, and Ethan is ordered to track her down, take the key from her, bring it back to the imp, and kill the mercenaries who were trying to kill her, and so he did. After that, she gave him the first key, and then Ethan helped her to frame her death. During the intelligence community briefing, they discussed the Russian submarine AI and how it escaped the submarine and uploaded itself into cyberspace, which means she now has access to the databases of most of the digital platforms out there. This means that the entity is now sentient, and when contacted it only answers with one sentence: "I shall return." All of the attendees talked about how it is important to control this AI entity before it reaches the World Intelligence Database and destroys it. A strange man enters the meeting, hands out a gas mask to the chair in the imp fire, and then throws a gas bomb in the room that ends up sedating all of the meeting attendees. Ethan confronts the chairman and tells him that he will acquire the two keys to not control but destroy the entity. Hunt gathered his old teammates in order to help him in his mission. They discovered that the other half of the key was with a collector, so they decided that they would lure him and replace the key with a counterfeit. While Hunt was tracking the collector, the authorities were looking for him in the airport, so he had to lay low, or they would detect him, and suddenly the readings on Hunt's glasses changed. It appears the key was stolen by a woman named Grace. She has no records on the spy database. That's why Hunt suspected she is a thief and she is in it for the money. So Ethan had to step in order to convince Grace to return the key, and he will pay her full. When Ethan held the key in his hands, he discovered that it was a counterfeit. Meanwhile, Benji intercepted the bag and found a nuclear bomb in it. In panic, while he was trying to disable it, he found his name on it. It appears that in order to disable it, he must solve a set of rules and answer a set of questions. He solved all the rules except for the last one because the bomb didn't ask him anything, but he figured it out at the last second. After Benji disarmed the bomb, the case opened, and there was no bomb. It appears that they were tricked. While Grace and Hunt were on their way to return the key to the collector, they discovered that he was dead. Grace then tricked Ethan, took the real key, and gave him the counterfeit. She then escaped the airport on board a plane. All these events have made Ethan realize that the mission is compromised, so he ordered his men to abort the mission. After Grace's plane landed in Italy, Grace was captured by the Italian authorities. They found more than one passport in her custody. In disguise, Ethan managed to help Grace escape the Italian Italian police. Grace told Ethan that she was contacted by a client who wanted this key so bad, and most of the contact with him was in digital form. That's when Ethan realized that the AI entity was the one who contacted Grace. During their conversation, they were interrupted by people who wanted to kill them. While Ethan was distracted, Grace managed to escape from him once again. She got in a police car and ran away, but she was hit by another car. An agent named Paris was trying to kill her. That's when Ethan stepped in and saved her. In his attempt to escape with Grace, Ethan accessed a it didn't look like much, but when Ethan started driving it, he was amazed by its speed. They were chased all across Rome until they were road-blocked from both ways, but Ethan found a way through a side tunnel in the road. The car then was trapped on the railways. Once again, Grace managed to handcuff Ethan's hand to the steering wheel and escaped. Ethan escaped at the last minute before the car was hit by a train. Grace now has the other half of the key. After Benji had done his investigation, he discovered that the man who smuggled the train was his wife's killer, Gabriel. The AI was protecting him, deciphering all his data on every server and concealing him from the camera security feed. Benji also discovered that Grace is going to deliver the key to a woman named Alana, a woman who knows Ethan from a previous encounter as John Lark had a party she organized in Venice. At the party, Gabriel meets Grace and asks her to give him the key if she wants to live. He tells her that the AI predicted that if she refused to give him the key, she would die if an Elsa stepped in to try to her from doing this. But Alana interrupts them and orders her bodyguards to capture them. During this, Grace placed the key in one of Alana's bodyguard pockets. Gabriel told them all that the AI predicted that he would get the key tomorrow on the Orient Express train. In order for that to happen, someone close to Ethan will die. He also tells him that he will have to choose between Grace and his friend Elsa. Ethan tried to convince Alana to not release Gabriel. She was confused for a while, but due to her fear of death, she allowed Gabriel to Ethan, and Elsa tried to disrupt Alana's bodyguards. In the process, Grace retrieved the key from the bodyguard's pocket and escaped, and now Ethan is going after her. While going after her, Ethan was compromised by the AI. The AI was mimicking Benji's voice and was giving Ethan wrong directions. Benji tried to go and warn Ethan in person, but he was led into a trap. Ethan managed to get out of the trap by fighting Gabriel's men. Meanwhile, Gabriel stopped Grace at the bridge. She tried to resist, but he knocked her unconscious. He almost killed her, but Elsa stopped him. That's why he killed her instead. Ethan then arrived at the scene to see his old friend dead. After going to a safe house, Grace felt guilty of Elsa's murder, but Ethan and his team convinced her to join IMF. Ethan and his team decided that they would go on that train and meet with a mysterious buyer in disguise. In order to know more about the function of the key, Luther warned Ethan that if he killed Gabriel, the entity would win. On the real replica of the Orient Express that was specially constructed for this movie, Gabriel killed the train driver and launched the train to full speed. That's why Ethan couldn't catch the train and had to reroute. Paris, Gabriel's bodyguard, killed the CIA chief's bodyguards and opened the door to Gabriel so he could question him and know more about the function of the key. The CIA chief told him that the key is a way to control or destroy the AI. It holds its source code, and the only way to access the AI core is in the Patkova's wreck. Gabriel killed the CIA chief and told Paris that the AI predicted that she would betray him. He tried to kill her, but he ended up only stabbing her. Meanwhile, Ethan found an alternative route to the train, but he would have to jump using the parachute in order to make it. On the train, Grace drugged Alana and replaced her in order to meet the buyer. The buyer turns out to be the chief of the IMF. She was planning to betray Ethan, take the money from the buyer and run away, but at the last moment she backed away from this idea and tricked the chief of the IMF and stole from him the key. While she was trying to escape, Alana woke up and alerted the guards to go after her. They almost got her, but Ethan came through the window using his parachute at the last second and saved her. Ethan then asked Grace to try and stop the train while he was going after Gabriel. Ethan and Gabriel were fighting on top of the train. Ethan almost killed Gabriel, but he was stopped by the CIA agents who were after him. Gabriel then took the chance and jumped off the train. He thought he won, but when he checked his pocket, he didn't find the key because Ethan had taken the key from his pocket while they were fighting. But the train isn't stopping because Grace failed to stop the train because the accelerator was jammed. The bridge exploded, and the train was now at risk of falling down the river. Grace and Ethan barely escaped the falling trailer. Did you know that the crew constructed a real replica of the train for the train fall scene? But Paris saved them at the last moment. In her last moments, she told Ethan and Grace about the function of the key. When it was time to evacuate the train, Ethan discovered that Grace only had one parachute. She told him to leave her and then asked the IMF chief to join the IMF.